Alright guys, it's Lee here, and we're continuing on with the 68 Cougar AJE Colt65 suspension. And as you probably saw in the last video, if you watched part 2, I sort of mentioned about cutting the spot welds on the shock towers and taking everything out that way, and did a couple and figured out it took a long time. So what I'm going to do is grind or use a cutting wheel and cut out the shock towers, so that way we can put a plate in there, weld it in, and be ready for possible future Coyote engine anyways in it. So since we got it all out, might as well do it, and it was a hell of a lot faster just taking the cutting wheel and cutting those off. So we'll flip around, and once we cut, I'll show you what they look like, and probably use a hammer drill on the bottom of them, just or air hammer on the bottom of them, just to break those spot welds on the bottom half, and then we can zip across on that. Alright, so as you can see, we from the inside taped off where we were going to cut, and that's where we got to. Didn't take long at all with that good old beast, and definitely a good compressor, as we have a nice 15 horsepower compressor at the shop here. So we'll go on to the underside here, and you can see what I mean about a couple of spot welds that we will drill these couple out here, and on that side as well, just kind of ground one down just to see. But what we'll do is we will drill those couple and take the air hammer and air hammer those ones out, just to make it easy, because that won't take long at all, even though the air hammer's loud. So make sure if you do it, you wear ear protection. But yeah, we marked off and we cut. So there's our cut all the way up. Nice, fairly clean cut and across. And once we pull that out and we do our template, then we'll clean them off and tack weld and weld it in. And here's the other side. Same thing. Cut all the way, right down to there. Unfortunately, the cutting wheel doesn't get that far down, so I'll probably take a reciprocating saw with a nice metal blade just to get those last little bit there. And there's the other side, as you can see. Now also, while I was at it, I pulled out the steering shaft. Being that this is a 68, it's a two-piece because it's a collapsible column, so I was able to slide it out. And what I did was took the blade as well, same blade we used to cut the shock towers, and I did a little slit on that flange, tapped it off with the hammer, and then what we'll do is I got a 1 inch ID bore by 2 inch OD bearing, and we will get that pressed on. We'll stick the shaft back in, measure exactly where it's going to go. We'll take the die grinder with a small disc and cut the inside of this tube here just back to about where it's flanged out here, as you can see. And then that way the bearing will slide up into that distance, probably tack around it, and then put the bearing retainer on the shaft to stop it from going up. And what we'll do is we'll take the U-joint that we have and we'll weld that on to the end. It is splined. I thought it was a 3/4 by 36 spline, but it's not. It's a 1 inch, and those are hard to find. So your best bet is to get a U-joint on a 68 and up that has the 1 inch smooth ID that you can on the U-joint that you can slide up into that shaft, and then take it in and get it welded. Be much easier and a little bit more reliable. Those old splines on that shaft scare me a little bit anyway, especially if you're doing a car that's going to handle any kind of cornering, and you want some good heavy steering. But anyways, that's where we're at. So we're going to continue on and work on the bottom half and get this off altogether, and that's when you'll see. Hey guys, this is Lee, going into another step of doing the AJE Colt65 installation. This is kind of like the third video I think that we're posting on here. So anyways, what we've done is we've mocked up everything into the like the cradle. We've mocked that up. as well as put on the spindles, and actually we'll just show you a couple of the things that we've done and we'll go from there. So let's spin her around. Okay, so it's starting to get late here. Did a little bit of work tonight on the Colt65 suspension, and found an issue that we'll go over in a minute when we get to there. But what I've done is we've cut out and done a template basically for our shock towers, and we've got some 12 gauge or 14 gauge, I can't remember which one. I'll confirm that as we get to that point of welding it in. But yeah, we've cut the template how it's going to go. So what we'll do now is, with that template there, we will cut the rest of the shock tower, trim it up for that template, and that way we'll use that template and scribe it onto the sheet metal that we got, and then cut out our piece. And then once we cut out our piece, we can lay it on there and do some tack welds, and then once we've done that to hold it in place, we can start doing our beads. As you can see, haven't done that side, because what we'll do is we'll use the same template, flip it over and put it on this side, so that way both shock towers are exactly the same. All right, because if I do a different template for that one, both shock towers will probably be slightly different. So this way, using the one template and spinning it around when we're done that side will ensure that they're both exactly the same. All right, so anyways, a couple issues that we came across. So we basically we've sanded this down. Sorry about the light here, but we've sanded this down and we use some Por 15, which is really nice, sort of chassis paint. They do a nice satin color, which looks pretty good. And what we've done is we've mocked in the K-member, okay, using the old cross brace bolts, which this AJE cross member was one that was built in 2018 or earlier, from what I've been told from AJE, had the holes in there to be able to basically hold it in place, so that way you can mark out your holes that you're going to drill into the frame, which is kind of cool. From what I understand is the new ones don't have that. You actually have to do the tape, measure it out. But anyways, what we did was use those bolts and those holes in the K-member. And if I can get some better light here, I'll show you. Sorry, bad light. But anyways, what we've done is we've used those holes and put the fenders on, and everything actually lined it up, you know, perfect. It was pretty well dead on. So what we'll do is we'll drill the holes now and put our crush sleeves in from the top. So you do your 1/2 inch hole, start with an 1/8 inch bit in the other two holes, drill up, and then go to your 1/2 inch. And then once you go through on the other side, on the top side of the frame rail, up there, we do a 3/4 inch hole. And that way you can slide your crush sleeve in there. You can leave it loose. Just be careful you don't drop it in. Feed your bolt in maybe right away. If you can't do that, then tack weld the top so that way it doesn't move, and that way you won't lose it inside your frame rail somehow. All right, so that's that step. So anyways, the issue that we've come across, which a lot of you might come across in your classic Mustang, Cougar, Fairlane, Maverick installations, is this car was hit and repaired at one time, as you can see there by the frame rail. See the kink there? So what's happened is this car on the driver's side got hit, from what it looks like from everything that we can find, got hit over there and kinked that and pushed that over at one time. The other side is perfectly straight, but this side is off. So being that we have all the frame equipment here at this shop, is we're gonna mock this and bolt it all into place. And what we'll do is we'll put it on the frame machine and see where it's out. We got the measurement stick for the frame machine. So we'll do all our measurements, make sure everything's square. It looks like this one frame rail is slightly lower than the other frame rail, from what we can see just by the eye. And what we'll do is we'll probably put a couple of blocks under here somewhere along the good part of the frame rail before it gets to the front of the car, and then put the frame machine on the front and pull up or down whichever way we have to go. And as you can see on the other side is, you know, we haven't finished painting. We just basically did it up to here, just where we're putting in the cross member. But as you can see, it's straight. There's no damage, no kink. Sits perfectly. So yeah, that's one of the issues. The other issue we have that we talked to AJE about today is, being that this cross member was made in 2018, they supposedly had some issues with a couple of employees that they let go, and one of the issues was the welding and the QC. And on this one here, on these areas where the A-arm bolts, is very poor weld penetration. And I don't know if you can see it, if the camera will focus in, but bad weld penetration up there. And on this side, coming back towards the passenger compartment of the car, on this side here, just by wiggling in the A-arm, the weld broke right here. So we were going to call in a welder, a really good welder, to come in and go through all the welds and go through all those welds and make them a little bit nicer. Penetration, good penetration. But talking to AJE today, they said, hold off. We're going to send you a new K-member. It's got some better tubing as well, supposedly. And you know, we'll swap it out. So we got to wait a week for that to come in, unfortunately. But as you can see, we got the Fox body rack in, power rack. This is a close ratio rack like what's in the Cobra. This is a brand new rebuilt unit. And then we got the AJE bump steer kit as well. And what we have to do is, being that these are 2004 Cobra spindles, we have to drill out the hole in the spindle where the ball joint goes in with a 5/8 drill bit. Okay, because this is a 5/8 in this sleeve here. You want basically one side of this to go up and the other half, as you can see here, there's two halves, and the other half will go down into the hole, and then you put your nut on. So when your car's dropped, depending on how low it is, you want to always try and make sure that this is in line as possible. So this is why AJE includes all these spacers here. All right, because that'll give you better steering geometry. You don't want it to be sitting down like that or up too far like that. You want to have it as in line with the rest as possible when you bolt that onto the spindle. All right, so we'll go over that as we get to that point as well. And the other thing is AJE also shorted me in the package the proper bolts that go from the strut to the A-arm, or to the spindle, sorry, but they're sending those as well. And those have a special square kind of washer on them that sets the camber, so which is on that side. So we got to wait for those. From my understanding, it's Maximum Motorsports as well makes them for their kit, and they possibly will work. But we're gonna go with, since we're doing this video on the AJE install, we're gonna go with that. All right, so anyways, that's that for now. We'll meet back again for the next video, where we start drilling out these with a 5/8 drill bit, and as well drilling the K-member, since the other replacement K-member that's coming should have the same bolt holes. They should line up, so we can at least pre-drill it, get it all ready. And as well, we'll get to cutting that properly and welding that plate and showing you how to do that. Then from there, once we get all that and get the final K-member in place, then we'll show you how to mock up the steering using your proper U-joints, that we've got one on here, which is a 3/4 by 26 spline, I think it is, on this side, going to a 3/4 DD, and we got a